Have you ever had a reaction that felt bigger than the situation? A comment, a tone, a text message, a meeting, and suddenly you're angry, you're hurt, defensive, withdrawn, or even overwhelmed. That's the thing about triggers. They don't clock out when you do.
Welcome to Grow Wiser, Love Louder, the podcast for women who are strong on the outside, tired on the inside, and honest enough to talk about it. I'm Ashaunettae Young, and I'm here with Tameka Rushing and Angela Gorham. How are you, ladies?
Hey,
Good,
hey.
good, good.
Are you ready for today's topic?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's a
bring it
good
on.
one.
All right. Well, before we get started, for our new listeners and viewers, if you could just give them your podcast nickname and one trigger you've learned to manage better, or one lesson you've learned about emotional healing.
Mm. Okay, I'll start. So I'm the mayor because I shake hands, kiss babies. I know a lot of people. Okay, the connector. I'll say a trigger I've learned to manage better, and I'm still working on it, is yelling, actually.
Mm,
Excessive negative yelling.
Mm.
There's a backstory, and that's what triggers are about, right? So for me, it's if not necessarily yelling at me or anything like that, but even just like if I'm not expecting it and someone just like yells, that's a trigger deep down for me. Or if
mm,
it is tense, yelling, like in person though, not necessarily like if I'm watching a movie or something, that's fine. But people arguing loudly and things like that, that's a trigger I'm working on. I'm working on.
mm. That's good. Podcast nickname. So I'm the sneakerhead. I love sneakers. Just bought some the other
You're
day.
gonna have to start
Yeah,
like putting up a
yeah. I'm
pair,
gonna have
like
to. I'm gonna have to show a pair. So yeah, I'm the sneakerhead. That's my podcast nickname. One trigger that I've learned to manage better. It's something on a whole totally different other end of the spectrum. It's, like when people do small digs or backhanded compliments to you.
mm,
Like, I used to, like, let that get under my skin or say something back. Kinda got to the point now I'm just like, "Alright, I'm just gonna not." I just let it slide a
yeah.
lot of times now, but before I'd be like, what does that mean? Like, why would you say that?" You know?
Mm,
But now I'm just like, "Okay, that's more about you than it is about me,
mm,
so I'm
Mm.
just gonna let that roll off my back, or I'm not even gonna acknowledge it because that's what you want me to do." So that's one thing that I'm learning to manage better. I won't let that trigger me as much, um, as the small things. And the one lesson I've learned about emotional healing, that healing you doesn't just benefit you, it benefits your family,
mm.
and it helps your bloodline. And that's what I learned about
Okay.
emotional healing.
Yeah, that's good.
Nice. So my podcast nickname is Black Hippie or Afrocentric Hippie. I don't know.
Hey. It's
I like
whatever you
it.
want it to be.
That part.
Yes. Doing a lot of spiritual work, spiritual journeys. And with that comes triggers and emotional healing. So one lesson I've learned about emotional healing on this spiritual journey is it's beneficial if you can recognize your triggers. It's very helpful.
Yes.
So,
Amen to that.
so
Mhm.
they kind of go hand in hand. I feel like I get further with my healing and on my spiritual journey when I'm able to really sit down and really peel back the onion of why I feel some type of way with certain triggers or interacting with certain people. So
Mm.
yeah.
That is so true. That is so
Mhm.
true because, man, think about before we even and we'll talk about it, but, like, think of all the times when you didn't understand triggers and how we probably suffered and sometimes suffered in silence, not even knowing, like, what that was,
Or
so
reacted a certain way and was like, didn't even
yeah.
realize.
Yes, you're like, "Why did I do
Oh,
that?"
wow. What was that about?
Right? Yeah.
That part. Okay, well, today we're talking about triggers, those emotional reactions that seem to come out of nowhere, but often have roots that run much deeper than the moment we're in. And as we already kind of expressed, right?
Mhm.
We talked about the emotional triggers. Um, stress responses, emotional memories. One thing I can say, I don't know if you guys have had this workplace triggers because I don't think I've had
Mm.
that, but have you guys
Hmm.
experienced workplace triggers?
Say not not often, but I think one of the biggest triggers for me in the workplace is probably that whole it's when people start adding people to emails and CCing people or my boss or something like that. That annoys me to no end, especially if it's something that doesn't even warrant that. You're just not confident enough to address it head on or whatever. I don't know. That's a huge workplace trigger for me. It's like, why are we adding gazillion people or your boss or my boss? Like, okay, so you know what I mean? It's like I still stand on because
What I
I'm a hard
said.
worker. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
per my last email.
That part.
And it's not gonna change just because you added somebody else
Right.
on it.
Yeah. But that's a workplace trigger for me. I don't know why, it just is. It just annoys me.
Wow. Yeah. Um, you have any workplace triggers, Shauna?
So for me, I don't think that there's like workplace trigger, home trigger. I don't think that they're separate, right?
Mm,
Mm. That's a good
Because
point.
it is something that has triggered you that just happened to take place at the workplace or at
mm,
home
Mhm.
or in the grocery store,
Yeah,
right?
that's a great
So to
point.
label it just a workplace trigger, I think it was just something that happened in the past. And then
Mhm.
that individual at work or a situation happened at work that subconsciously or consciously or whatever just triggered you at that point in time. So the trigger might have happened at work, but the
mhm,
initial trauma
Mhm.
possibly didn't happen at work, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah,
mhm,
yeah. And it,
mhm.
it could have been trauma at work, but to your point, it could have been something else too.
Yeah.
That yeah.
Because for
That's
me, when I look at triggers that when I've had things that trigger me in the
mhm.
workplace, um, w- they are, it was a guy that was kind of belittling and talking down to women,
Mhm.
and it was his ego, right? And it was just
Mm,
he was talking. It just happened to take place at the workplace, but that's a trigger for me anywhere, right? Like just because you're a man, women, we're not beneath you, right? So you're not gonna talk
Right.
to me any kind of way. You're not gonna talk to me any kind of way. We're the same rank, right?
mhm.
So just because you in the chief's office kissing ass and I don't,
Right.
y'all buddy buddy. Anyway, I was starting to go back.
I know.
I was starting to go back,
I
not
know.
today,
But here we
not
are.
today. Just got from spiritual retreat. No, I am working on that.
Right.
Um, but see, it didn't happen at the workplace, right? Like I'm at home and I got triggered.
Right.
But and I
Oh,
don't want that
I love
energy in
it.
my house. But
Right.
no, I'm sorry. I
She's
kind of
like, "Incense burning, here I am, I'm
oh,
back."
yes, very much so.
But no, that's a real thing, and people deal with that every day. Women deal with that every single day, so I'm glad that you brought that example up, right? Because it's a real thing. It's a real
Mhm,
thing.
mhm.
I've just yeah.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
your example was a good example as well, as far as the emails, because that's a work-related thing.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
not sitting here in my personal emails
Yeah.
having a trigger from an email,
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
response
I
like
will.
that.
My
Yeah.
daggone
So
property management company right now then triggered me. It was like, I know you got my first I don't know how many emails. Are you not gonna respond? Like, they're not local,
Oh,
so I
yeah.
can't just pop up, right?
Oh,
But
oh.
don't make me call that 1-844 number or whatever it is. I don't know how many times. Got me in the house with no damn water because you ain't
Oh,
gonna fix
yeah.
it.
Oh,
mhm.
yeah, that's a
You at
problem.
my house at 9:30 a damn night wanting to fix water that I called you about at 11 o'clock in the morning. Anyway,
Oof.
alright, trigger. See?
Oh, jeez.
Not
We off the
today.
I mean, that's
rails.
Not
valid. That's valid. I mean,
Sorry.
and
Yeah.
we'll talk
No, you're good.
about that too, triggers versus other things. So
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
we'll
yeah, yeah,
continue.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Um, I I I don't have anything,
Work related.
work related to that level, like, to that. I will say I did have somebody try to fight me at work one time.
Stop it.
Yeah, so we
Wow.
were emailing back and forth, and this person, we were not the same rate. No, we were not the same. Were we the same rate? It don't matter. Either way, the person was emailing me. We were emailing back and forth, and I was like explaining to them how this was not my problem. Like, I don't know why you keep trying to email me about it. And I guess they didn't like my response. And so they came to my office and basically tried to fight me in my office. And I was like, what is happening here?
Were
So
you in the military?
yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I
What?
was in the military. And
Who does that?
the crazy part about it is they came to my office. And so I stood up because I was like, okay, they came to my door. And the way my office was, like outside my door, it was like a whole nother like section where people worked. So when they
Mhm.
came, they started, obviously their voice was raised and stuff. So I had got up from behind my desk and I was like, hey, if you can't come in here and talk at a normal level,
Mhm.
like an adult, I'm gonna
Mhm.
need you to leave. Like, you come back when you could talk, when you're not all elevated,
That's
right?
crazy.
And so I tried to like shut my door, and then the person put their foot in the door to stop it. And so the door came back open, and so the person yeah, it was a female. So she put her hands on me, like pushed me, and I said, "Oh, okay, we doing this?" And I pushed her ass
What?
back, and she obviously was not in my weight class because I shoved
Right.
her ass. And
Like
and when I
7 feet
pushed
tall.
her, and we were the same height though. When I pushed
Oh,
her, she
I
flew
understand.
back, and there was guys out there, and they grabbed her, and the other dude jumped in front of my doorway to block me, and I was like, and so she started trying to curse me out, and she's from Chicago. I don't know if she watching this. I mean, it's water
Who
on the bridge
cares?
now, but I needed her to get her life together. And so she
Oh
started like
my
trying to
gosh.
curse me out, and I'm from Chicago and this, and I say, I don't give a damn where you from. Like, what are you doing? Like,
Wow.
she's like, I take this shirt. We can go out to the parking lot. I said, I ain't going nowhere. I'm gonna need you to leave and get your life together. And the
Right.
person's like
Girl,
standing
what you
between
do?
us.
CC her boss? Like what?
No, I didn't. We had the same boss. But the
That's
funny part is,
crazy.
so like the dude standing like in between us, but I'm obviously not pursuing. But you put your hands on
Right.
me, I pushed your ass back. Like, you're not gonna
Right.
put your hands on me and think I'm not gonna push you back.
What the
But
heck?
the guy was standing in the doorway, and I wasn't trying to do that, but she
Right.
was trying to like come at me and swing and stuff, and they was looking like, what is happening? And I was just like, I don't know what the hell's happening. Like, yeah. And she ain't getting in trouble for it. But
Wow.
again, we were in a special tactics squadron, and you know how that is. They be in there scrapping
Right.
too. And I was like, that doesn't
Right.
excuse the behavior. But
Right.
I was like, girl, I'm not the one.
Right.
Or the
And that
two.
goes to show
And
you, like, people look at the military and they're like, but they're military. And yes, while there are
that don't mean nothing.
expectations and standards and all that, people are people. Who
So
people
I
are
don't
at
know
their
what
core will come out.
in that situation, and at the time, old me would have been like, let's get it in. But at that point, I just remember looking at her like, that's sad that this is what you resort to violence. You
Right.
can't
Right.
use your words. You don't know how to have a conversation. And
Right.
that's the
Who
first thing
hurt
I thought
you?
about, where I was
Mm.
like, you don't know how to have a conversation to talk. You're
Mhm.
just mad and frustrated because what? You didn't get
Mhm.
the answer you wanted. So this is how you're going to react. You want to fight?
Good
Girl, bye.
mentorship moment.
Go by. I was like, kick
Like,
rocks. But
let me
anyway,
hold
so
your
yes,
hand when I
I had somebody try to fight me at work. Yeah, so that
That is
happened.
so crazy. Now,
In the
when I was
military, yes.
so back in Germany, all right, when we I won't say her name, but I was a little spicy back then. Like, I'm the person, like, my first assignment, I had a leader who said, your name is your first name is Airman. And I was like, no, my name is this. And he was like, no, you're an airman, that's your name. You don't have an identity, blah, 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 blah. Keep in mind, I was like, I don't know, 19 something. But I was like, who you talking to? Blah, blah, blah. I worked on a flight line. I was running swings with one strike. It was crazy. And then, but Germany, I had a leader. She was so mad at me, but she put her finger in my face and I like smacked her hand out of my face. I did get written up. I got a little reprimand for that one, but I wrote a rebuttal and it got ripped up because again, I was sassy. I know my rights. Look, it was I'm like, you standing in the middle of the warehouse in front of everybody. I get it. You're upset. I don't even know what I did. Who knows?
Yeah, it ain't going
But
to that though.
yeah, but you don't to put your finger in my face. That's probably the
Mhm.
closest physical thing I've had to deal with at work with myself. I when I was in Turkey, I did have to separate
Break up fights.
a guy and a girl, yeah, and where in out in receiving. Like, I was like, "Okay, he about to choke you out, girl. Like, come on, let's go. Let's take a
Oh
walk."
no.
But anyway, yeah, I workplace violence is never good. Let's
No,
just put
it's
that out
not.
there.
And I
We
will
do
say
need to learn our
this,
words
I've
and be
seen,
able to
um
communicate.
I've seen men get that way, like, where they
Mhm,
get frustrated with each other and they don't know how to, or if somebody say something to somebody else and they take it, they felt they were disrespected. Because I
mhm,
had a troop of mine do the same thing. This master sergeant came in and he didn't like the way he was talking to him. And so then, and I heard the yelling. I was like, "What is happening?" I came out of my office. I was like, "What is happening?" And he's like, "This motherfucker." I was like, "Oh no, baby,
mm,
this is what we not gonna do." So I took
mhm.
him because he had a line number too. I said, "Hey man, you
You're
about to
about to
lose his
lose your
line
rank.
number. So I'm gonna need you to
Yeah.
zip. Let's go.
Z
Walk this way.
yeah,
Come on." Well, he was over
yeah,
here talking to me, talking down. I said, "Okay, I get that, but there's another way to
yeah,
handle that." And that's the other
yeah.
thing, because you're bringing people from other backgrounds. You don't know what environment they grew up in, and then you
Mhm.
think you could talk to people any kind of way just because you a master sergeant or whatever, and then you meet that one that's like, "Oh, I don't give a
I
damn
don't
what
care
rank
about
you
your rank.
are.
Yeah, yeah,
We can
that's
get it
real.
in."
That's real in the
And that's
military.
People
exactly what
still don't
happened. I
think
was like, "Hey,
that
hey."
way. Yeah.
And I don't know
That
what
is
was gonna
very real
happen.
in the
Look, I don't
military.
know what was gonna happen if they would've got to swinging, because I was like, "Hey,
Right.
let's go." I snatched his ass. I was
Yeah.
like, "Let's go this way." We walked this way. I told my other airman to help the master sergeant because he had came there to pick up a part or something. I was like, "Let's go." We walked that way, and I was like, "Hey, man, no, man, this is something we not." And it was a brother. I was
Yeah,
like, "Hey, man, no, 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 we're not doing
yeah.
that. Like, no." And you got a line number, sir. You got to think.
Mhm.
You got to be smarter than that. And that's the other piece
Yeah,
of it, right? You can't be doing stuff like that. You jeopardizing, your rank, extra money
right,
for your family, because you got
right.
a family. You got to think about this stuff. And I get it. Whatever he said, it probably was disrespectful and inappropriate. But do you let me handle that? You come to me and you tell me
Mhm,
about it. You know what I mean?
mhm.
As a master sergeant and your boss, you let me know and you let me
Right.
handle that. You
And it's
don't,
Yeah.
hard,
you
right?
know,
When you
retaliate.
say that, when you think about the people in the military, they do. We're so diverse, right? And we come from
Mhm.
different cultures. And where you can call it street or wherever you're from, it's the respect, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
the respect, it's so many different things, and the people think that just because you have a rank, you're entitled to a certain amount of
Oh,
respect.
yeah.
No, no, no. You are
Mhm.
entitled to the customs and courtesies.
Correct.
Respect
Right.
needs to be earned, right? In
Correct.
my opinion. This is just
I
Ashaunettae
agree.
Young, right? That does not give you the right to talk to people any kind of way.
Mhm, mhm.
Because you don't know their past. You especially and I see it in a lot with people in customer service related, like you were talking about receiving, when people come pick up gear, the child I was about to say chow hall, the dining facility, at the MPF, all of those places where it's customer service,
Mhm.
people come in there, they throw their rank around. If you
Oh,
think you gonna
I've
talk to an
seen it.
airman, an NCO or something any kind of way, it takes
Mhm.
like that guy, it takes you to come across that one that was
Right.
like, "F the military, this rank,
Yeah.
my respect, my
Yeah.
dignity, my being is worth more than letting me
Mhm.
talk to you any kind of way."
Mhm.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, Angela, not everybody has a supervisor like you, that's
Mm.
like
True.
you, that's willing to fight for their people. And
Mhm.
at some point, airmen, NCOs, senior NCOs, young officers, they get tired of having a spineless supervisor that does not
Mm.
Oh,
stand up for their
yes.
people. And they was like, you know what?
Yeah.
It's gonna be what it's gonna be. If I gotta go, get the scrap in because my supervisor won't check this person every
Mhm.
time the
That's a
same
great
person
point.
comes in there,
Mhm.
right? A
That's a great
person is
point.
only gonna take so much, is
Mhm.
only going to be triggered so much because before the AFIs go out the window and security
Yeah.
has to come in with the SWAT team and just you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because
Not the
Yeah.
SWAT team. Not
well,
the SWAT
you
team.
don't know, right? You don't know the
Yeah, no, it
Yeah.
level
No,
we've
you're
seen
of
right.
some stuff. Y'all know
performers.
we've all seen some stuff and know some people that it got real bad.
Right,
Yeah.
and that
Real
is
bad.
where it comes down to being a good leader, taking care of your people,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I'm not saying you have to dig into their past, but knowing a little bit about these brand new airmen and officers when they come in,
Yeah.
knowing single parent, whether they have siblings, how they grew up will
Left
help you
abuse.
understand them and knowing how they're gonna operate. It's just knowing the little bit because you might find out just by having normal conversations about their childhood what could potentially trigger them, and
Right.
that way you can help them work through it. But
Mhm.
sometimes leaders haven't even acknowledged their own triggers.
Yes.
So
That's
That is
true.
sorry.
true.
I
I
said
know
all of
we
that
went on a
to
little
We
tangent, but I'll
did. We did.
also just connect that to and I know sometimes we get heavy on the military speak and not everybody's been in the military, but even in the workplace to include college graduates, right? Yes, they went through college, but when you go through college, you don't necessarily have to be involved in a lot of group stuff or dealing with other people, especially if you went online and now you're maybe in the workplace for the first time around
Mhm.
other people. And so I just want to connect that too for those who are just like, well, I wasn't in the military. Well, it doesn't matter because
Yeah.
the
Corporate
civilian
or other
workspace is the
side. Mhm.
same. Yeah,
mhm.
especially with young professionals who are just
Mhm.
entering the workforce. So anyway,
Mhm. And then speaking of leadership, we're gonna be talking about that too.
yes, we are. You know, that's my jam.
Yes, it is, ma'am. Yes, it is. I
Yes.
know we got off on a
Anyway,
tangent. Let's get back on get back on
let's circle back. Let's
get back on
circle back.
track. Okay, so we talk about triggers. Um, ladies, when did you first realize what a trigger really was, and or if you want to dive into a little bit, what's the difference between being triggered or simply just being upset about something or angry?
I'll say this might sound crazy, but I just realized I won't say just. I realized what a trigger actually was or just more about triggers when I entered my current relationship
Mm,
with my now husband. He, as we were getting to know each other, he asked me questions that I had never been asked, I had never reflected on, to include what did you see growing up, right?
that's a good
And
question.
that and I talk about this all the time and, I know he be over there like, "Yeah, I did that," but it did. It helped me really, really it stumped me, honestly.
Mm,
It stumped me, and I was like, "Dang," not just in one situation, but just all around like, "Dang, what did I dang, I did see X, Y, and Z," and whatever. So that was just almost 13 years ago, right? So not
okay.
long ago, right? And I realized the difference between, like, being triggered and upset is triggered for me is if it's something that's deep rooted. Like I'm feeling some kind of way for something that's the person I'm dealing with had probably had nothing to do with, right? Actually, 9 times out of 10 is something to your point, Sean, is something way back that I've dealt with that's deep rooted and upset is just for me, I'm just annoyed. Like it's not deep rooted. It's not something that I feel like I need therapy for. It's just you're getting on my nerves. Right. And so to me, that's the difference of like feeling that something has kicked off a trigger versus just I'm annoyed. So I'm upset.
That's
See?
actually a good. That's actually a good answer there, sis. Do you want to add anything to that? Or you think she hit it already?
Would it
um, me and my researching.
Mhm.
So when I looked it up, it was basically saying, um, the difference between being triggered and being angry is basically how emotionally connected it is to whatever is happening, right?
Mhm.
So if it's how big of an emotion you have to whatever's happening, and if it's
Mhm.
something that's proportionate to what's happening, then that's just you being upset. But if it's something bigger than what the little thing was, then you're like, okay, that's probably something tied
Yeah.
to something
Some
else from your
something.
past or some other past experience, right? And it gave some
Yeah.
really good examples, and I was like, oh, these are good. But I do want to say one thing, Dr. Gabor, he does a lot of work with plant medicine. But the one thing he said about triggers that I liked, he was like, triggers tells more about yourself. So when it's happening, it's more about you know, so you got to
Mhm.
be focusing on you and not
Mhm.
necessarily what happened. But the one example, well, there was a couple examples, but one of the examples that I thought was really interesting, because I think too, people was like, oh, well, what is an example of something being bigger than what it is? Like, what does that look like?
Right.
Because some people probably are like, how do I know? What does that look like to me or to somebody else? Or, if somebody just blows up over something, you're like, okay, it wasn't that serious for me, but it
Mm.
was serious for this
Mhm.
person that they didn't
Mhm.
get this ketchup packet. You forgot a
You're
ketchup
like, "It's
packet, and
not
this
about the
lady
ketchup."
over here going off, and you're like, it's just a ketchup
Like,
packet,
"Lady,
lady.
it's
What are
just
we
ketchup."
doing? Right? But that's something that's an experience that she's had, right? And you're just like, okay, well, it's a
Yeah.
ketchup packet. I don't understand, but okay, lady, whatever. Right. But one of the examples that I wrote down, because I was like, oh, this is pretty interesting. And I like that it kind of like ties it to what's happening, or how, like, if you feel some kind of way or feel hold on, where's it at? It's right here. So it was like, someone who struggled with trust, right? They may become
Mm.
anxious when a friend is being secretive, right? Or inconsistent, because then now they're like, okay, now because they have trust issues, they're like, why is she being secretive, or why is she showing up inconsistently? Now I don't know if I could trust her, right? So that's one example where they were talking about the triggers. Now you're being triggered because that person's behavior is triggering you because of your um, trust insecurities, right? Or a person who's experienced rejection may be deeply hurt if they were left out of a group activity. So, like, if Shauna had rejection issues, and me and Mika decided we was going to go to the zoo, and we just didn't invite her, and she sees us,
Mhm.
social media pictures and stuff of us at the zoo, and then she's like, why they invite me to the zoo? I would have wanted
Right.
to go to the zoo, right? And now she feels some kind of way because she got left out of the activity, right? So those are examples of, some of the triggering things to connect to, the insecurities or trust or rejection, which are all things or emotions that can cause triggers. And so that's what I kind of just wanted to, like, kind of touch on that a little bit. I know we're going to talk
Yeah.
about, individual experiences and
Mhm.
things that if we ever had a reaction that surprised us and we had to, like, okay, that was a little triggering even for me. Now I got to sit
Mhm.
with what
Mhm.
happened and figure out why did I react that way. But I just wanted to, like, talk about some of the emotions that are tied to that, so that, the people who are listening can be like, okay, now I can kind of understand what they're talking about, as far as
Yeah.
how somebody can react if they were, had rejection, and this is what it looks like. And if you had trust issues, this is what it looks like, and
Right.
go upon that part. So I've done enough talking. So
No, it's
I
good
was just
to give
But I just
examples.
wanted to give examples, that,
Yeah.
they'd be like, "Oh, well, yeah, I've done that, I've done that
Yeah.
before." And now you could be like, "Okay, I didn't realize that was something that's triggering me." So now I can sit with that and be
Right.
like, "Well, why did I
Yeah.
react that way?" So I'll give an example for myself. I had a conversation with a family member, and I was telling this family member about something that deeply hurt me. And when I was talking to the person was not listening to understand my hurt. The person just kept saying, "You need to heal. You need to heal." And it just, because I
Mm.
didn't feel like you was understanding me to be
Right.
understood, you just was like, "You need to heal. Like, that's what's wrong with you. You need to heal." And I was like, and I just went off.
Yeah.
and I and I felt so bad. Like,
Yeah.
but I knew, I was like, no, that there's something with that. Like, why did I do that? Because I would never really ever do that. So I
Mhm.
had to sit with myself for a second, after the conversation. I sat with myself for a bit, and I was like, why did I react that way? Like, I had to sit with it and was like, okay, well, when they said this and this, why did I react that way? Why did it make me react that explosively with this person? Because this person's never done anything to me before like that to make me react that way. So
Right.
why did I do that? And so when I sat with it, I was like, okay, it's because I felt like, you were trying to minimize
Mm.
what was happening to me. And you weren't, and then you kind of was trying to silence my voice a bit. And that's what I felt. And that's how I felt in that moment, which is why I reacted the way I reacted. And in that sense, I apologize to that person, after I sat with it, understood what was going on, and then couldn't now talk about it. And I called that person back. I was like, let me apologize for what I done. Like that was
Mhm.
not warranted for you. Like you did not deserve that. So let me apologize.
Yeah.
And now I understand why I did that. And this is why I did that. And the person was like, okay, now I understand. And that was not my intent to make you feel that way. And I know that wasn't their intent, but that's how I felt in that moment. So I was
Right.
like, well, but now we understand each other. Now we can, it's funny now. It wasn't
Right.
funny then.
Right.
Because I was like, "What?"
Oof.
So, yeah, so that was my
Yeah.
example when I realized I was
Oof.
triggered about something.
Man,
Oh.
it's,
You go
it's it's a lot. So, um, I had a reaction just today
Oh.
before we got on. So, I am working through, um, in therapy. And it stems from the military childhood, and I'm just gonna be honest, be
Huh.
vulnerable. I've never told anybody outside of my therapist. I think Amari knows because I talked to her. I have a problem with trusting white men
Mm,
and white
Really?
men in authority.
mm,
And it
Really?
stems from a deployment, like, I had tears in my eyes. And so I was on and this individual he shouldn't have gotten the reaction that I gave him,
mm,
but we were on FaceTime, and he was like, "Oh, what does your shirt say?" So, it's a Juneteenth it says Juneteenth, 1865.
mhm,
I was on the phone with a white male, and he was like, is that right?" He was like, "Wasn't it 1863?" And I'm like, and I know this person likes facts. So I Googled it. And so he was like, "You know what? I Googled 1863. I recognized I was wrong. Girl, I just went off." You
Mm.
know, like, and he was talking, and then he was like, "Well, do you know who signed it? Abraham Lincoln." And I was like, and then I was just like, well, he didn't want to free the slaves it really anyway. It was all political and stuff. And so I went on. He was like, "You got so, defensive." And he was like, "Well, his actions, he did it." And I was
Mm.
like, "Oh, okay." He was like, "Well, were you there? Did you ask him? It could have just been other people that said." And he was like, "Maybe he just didn't want to free his slaves." Girl, like I went into, like he was having we were having a conversation, and I went into, well, of course he didn't want to free the slaves. He was making mixed babies and sleeping with the slaves and all
Mhm.
this other kind of stuff. And like, I just totally went, and he was like, "Well, we can go off of his actions. He signed it." And I was like, "Oh, okay. So we going off of actions. So we got to trust the white man's history from that we get in school because that's all we get is the white man's version of history. So we going off of
Mhm.
those actions." I just went, "Hey,
Mm.
I'm gonna call," and like I did. I was like, "You know what? I didn't mean," but it triggered me that he was
mhm,
questioning,
mhm.
because I am working on that, and that's another reason why
Yeah.
too. Because as a Gemini, I'm naturally curious,
Mhm.
and asking questions and stuff like that, but people don't like to be questioned because they
Mm,
question their authority. Well, with me,
mm,
I'm a Gemini and I am curious, but I don't trust you anyway. So I'm
Mm.
mm,
questioning not your authority. I'm questioning your reasoning behind why you do that. And it stems back to, like I said, something that happened on the deployment
mhm,
where someone gave wrong information, but knew it was wrong information. And it was a trickle down effect to some things that happened downrange. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
Gotcha.
It
Gotcha.
didn't need to happen, but
Gotcha.
they withheld information, you know what I'm saying?
mhm,
So
Right.
that like, I questioned, everything, and that happened when I was a tech sergeant, so
mm,
2013, and I retired 2026, so 13 years, just battling
mhm,
with that, but I was surprised of my reaction because that's the first time, and we've had conversations before.
And that was today.
That was
That
Yes,
conversation was
that
today.
was just today.
Okay.
Okay.
And so, obviously, I'm still working on that in therapy,
Yeah.
but, it's the second time that that's happened, with him,
Right.
and I'm not saying that I know I wasn't right, because he was just saying something. He was like, "You know what? I was wrong." But it also goes to years of people, insert any race, questioning
Mhm.
us, right?
Mm.
Mhm.
Like,
Do
"Oh,
you feel like it was not the what, but the how? Was it what he was asking or how he was asking? I'm just curious.
it wasn't.
It was just the questioning in general.
It was the
Okay.
Mm.
questioning in
Okay.
general, and I felt that when he said, "Well, did you ask, did you ask Abraham Lincoln?" Like,
Yeah, now that was
Mm.
unnecessary.
because then I was like,
Right.
"Okay." So that was something else. It was like, "Okay, I felt some type of way with that."
Mm.
And
Mhm.
Right.
no, of course I didn't ask, but then my clap back was, "You know what? The next time I take a journey, I'll make sure I talk to Abraham Lincoln about that. We'll have a conversation, and I'll let you know when I go on my next
Mhm.
retreat."
Right.
So
Mm.
I felt that he was making an excuse for history,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Like
Mhm.
he was trying to justify. And the phone call wasn't even that long, so, like, to really get into it, and I know that was, like, a long explanation, but that's, like,
No, it's
literally something that happened that I'm working on in therapy,
Mhm.
and that now I need to circle back with this individual and be open and honest and was like, "Hey, I am working on this in
Mhm.
therapy, and when you said this, it triggered me, and that's why you got the response." Like,
Mhm.
I apologize, for my reaction. I should
Mhm.
let it get to that, but
right. That's
Yeah,
real though.
yeah,
it is.
but then again, he was like, "You have on a Juneteenth shirt, isn't that tomorrow?"
My goodness.
I mean,
Now,
you
okay,
can't wear outside of that?
while I hear you and I hear you owning, your role, some of those comments I think would have set a lot of people off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that comment alone, so you're reducing it to one day?
And I was like, "Well,
Yeah.
we're recording
Like,
a podcast today, and it's just a shirt or whatever." And it was
right.
Yeah.
Like we
yeah.
wear like, yeah, mine says jet setter. Yours is June. Like it's just a shirt. Like, but that's passive aggressive to me.
Yeah, it is
So
very
I
passive
know
aggressive.
listening, like yes, you have your part and you've owned that, but some of them comments, I think it would have set a lot of people off.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Like,
Okay.
I mean, and
Yeah. But anyway,
yeah, I don't know.
that was my
Your example.
reaction.
Yeah.
Trigger trigger. I am a work in progress.
We are
We
all work
all
in
are.
progresses.
We
We
all
all are.
are.
Everybody
Anybody
is.
who says they're not, they're
They
either
lying.
refusing to do the work or they're
They
lying.
lying. They lying.
So, I mean, and my
Call a
example
spade. They
is
lying. Go ahead.
not like any of those.
Oh, wait, before you
I'm
start,
actually,
hold on. Before you start, Shauna, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being
yes,
vulnerable and sharing
absolutely.
that. You know what I mean?
Of
Like,
course. I was over here like,
vulnerability is a gift and not everybody
yes.
gets it and not everybody gives it. And I appreciate you giving us
And
that
it's one of
that
the
story.
hardest things to do is to
Mhm.
be vulnerable because a lot of
So
us,
I appreciate that.
our
That
pride gets
part.
in the way.
And ego.
And so, and ego, all the
Mm.
things. So, yes, thank
Go
you.
ahead. Go ahead. Use your
Like
story.
I'm over here like, okay, girl, don't let that trigger you. This ain't my situation.
She was like, wait a minute. He
I,
said what?
did we?
That would have
Because
got me up in
I
there too. I
know
was like, oh Lord.
we talked before we hit record about like me not owning other people's emotions and
Hmm.
situations. So hey, let me shake Shauna's situation off.
Take that out the bag.
Right. Anyway, mine is like now I'm like, I don't even want to share. Mine is from moons ago because I have worked really hard to like seriously, I've done a lot of work to not want to work on things, my triggers, not things that trigger me, but the trigger itself. Like that's
Mhm.
within me. But I do have a reaction that surprised me from my last marriage, I got upset and I may have put clothes in a pile that weren't mine and back and well, put clothes in a pile and taken a barbecue grill that had the gray ashes in it, and I may have kicked that grill over into a pile of clothes.
I thought you was about to say you was
I
gonna
thought
do
you did one.
I
Angela
didn't set it on
Bassett.
fire. I did not Angela
Yeah.
Bassett the
Yeah, I was
clothes,
like,
but
did you Angela Bassett?
I may have put the clothes in a pile and then karate kicked a
She
grill
said
full of
karate kick.
dry
I could see you
ashes.
karate kicking it.
Y'all don't judge me for the people who
No
are like,
judgment.
I thought she was so professional. Look here, we all have a past, right? But
That part.
I am not that person anymore, but I was surprised at how I reacted that way because I went into a space to where I didn't even realize what I was doing. Like I was zoned out and clearly zoned out enough to either gather clothes and do all the things and or whatever. And I mean, hindsight, as I started healing and going to therapy, you know, why are you even doing all this? I've mentioned before of being I've mentioned before of infidelity that produced a child in 2 different relationships, right? So that was the second time. And that's what it was, right? And I just went there and I like, why did I even, because it took me back to the first situation, you know? And I'm like, okay, I gotta figure this out, right?
Yeah.
Because that reaction could have led to even more anxiety, lack of trust, all the things for future relationships, right? So, but it surprised me that I went that far, right? I mean, I could have went further, but I did not light matches or anything.
Girl.
Sorry.
Girl.
Anyway, that was it. That was my
Look,
example. I'm joking.
we ain't judging, no judgments, but I will tell you, I did the same thing. I took it a step further and I burned all the pictures of us together, except for one, to put them all in a kitchen sink and lit a match and burned up all the pictures of us together. And that was my first husband.
Yeah.
And I kept one just because, you know, if my son ever wanted to see a picture of him or whatever, that's the only picture I kept. All the other ones I burnt them up, and I left the ashes in the sink for him to see. So I'm not proud of that either. But anger,
but that was
anger
so
can take
long
you
ago, everybody. It was so
long time ago.
ago.
We was in our 20s. long time ago.
Be like my husband over there sleeping with
20s, we are unstable. You are unstable.
I was very unstable,
emotionally
very
unstable. But anyway,
very
so I'm not proud of that.
And it also goes back to, like we mentioned before, in all seriousness, that it goes back to that what I told you. My now husband is like, what did you see growing up, right? And violence was normal. It literally was. Violence was normal. For the situationships that I did witness, violence was normal. So I'm like, okay, yeah, this is normal. It's not normal. And I highly advise that no one does anything like that, permanently like that. And we'll talk about healthier ways to deal with the triggers.
That part. Yeah. Oh, Lordy. We're off the rails. Okay. So I think we covered pretty much all of these things off of this list. So like some of the things that triggering can produce is overreacting, emotional flooding, defensiveness, which, you know, Shauna just spoke about the defensiveness, avoidance. So people can avoid, people pleasing, you know, doing things to please the person, fear of rejection and feeling unseen. I talked about feeling unseen in the conversation, right? So those are definitely some, of the reactions, you know, of being triggered, right? So that part. So let's move along.
I know. We get passionate about certain things.
We do. Okay, but some things I wanted to say. Sometimes the strongest reaction points, you know, to the deepest wound, which is what we said, right? Like you said, it pointed back to a previous relationship that, you know, you didn't fully heal from. Shauna, it pointed back to a previous situation with the person, and it reminded you of that. And that's kind of what the goal is, to get to that root to what it's pointing back to so that you can
Right.
recognize it and heal it, right? A trigger is often information, not just irritation. So that's what we're saying. It's giving you information.
Mhm.
The goal isn't to avoid the triggers. The goal is to understand them, right?
Absolutely.
So the next piece,
Absolutely.
healing versus reacting, right? Um, so we're talking about emotional regulation,
Mhm.
self-awareness is what we were talking about, accountability, which is we're talking about how we took accountability, even
Mhm.
apologizing to the person, and owning your
I
part
ain't
of it.
apologize, but
Okay. That was many moons ago, so we don't have to do that. Breaking unhealthy patterns though. We broke
yes.
unhealthy patterns, right?
Oh, yes,
Um,
absolutely.
and we have more emotional maturity, right?
Mm.
Um,
Oh, absolutely.
right? So we're not doing those things anymore. Um, so the discussion prompt I want to talk about is, how do you know you're healing instead of just reacting, right? In what ways, what responsibility do we have for our triggers, right?
Mhm.
And how do we avoid making other people responsible for our healing?
Mhm.
Mhm.
For that specifically, for me, it's really taking a beat. Just taking a breath, being like, "Okay,
Mm.
all right, let me pause," instead of just reacting off cuff, just really stepping back, taking a beat, thinking about it, not reacting right away so that I give myself time to truly process. And for me, it comes down to communication as well, right? So either depending on the situation, explaining like, this is how this made me feel. Because some triggers for myself that I have or had was because I didn't speak up,
Mm,
previously on certain things. I just took it. Right. So I took it and it built, it built, it built, it built, it built. And then now I'm exploding on somebody that has nothing to do with it. Right. So for me, it's a couple things. It's taking a beat, processing, not reacting right away, and communicating, be it the other person or situation or within myself, self-talk. Like, okay, girl, what are we doing?
yeah.
Where's this coming from? And that all ties to, and I know we talk about healing a lot, but just working on healing those wounds that cause those
Mhm.
triggers. So that's me.
What about you, Shauna?
Um,
Well, you already said therapy.
I know
Like if
yeah.
you feel like, yeah, you
no,
already said
no,
therapy.
it is. No, it's more than just therapy, right? Tamika, like you said, taking a step back, right? When you start to feel anxious or you start to feel those emotions, if you're in the middle of a conversation, taking a step back, asking yourself, where is this coming? Like, where is this coming from?
Right.
I've worked on this. I'm not going to allow this to send me back there.
Mm.
And the deep breaths, not the day Satan,
It's a lot. It's a
Yeah,
lot.
right.
Yeah.
it is a lot.
It's work.
Um,
Mhm.
and it's ongoing, right? Today I
Mhm.
had a last, but
Yeah.
tomorrow's gonna be later. I won't even say tomorrow is gonna be better. I can make it better later, like
Mhm.
right
Right.
now, going forward.
Mhm.
Right.
I choose to allow something to change my emotions, my
Mhm.
reaction. It's a
Mhm.
choice.
That outcome.
Yep, that outcome.
Mhm.
Do I want to get triggered and have my anxiety, then my heart's racing, and then anger comes in, all of these other
Right.
do I really want that to overwhelm me? Is me getting another word or telling him how I feel and the clapbacks, is that worth it? Right?
Mm.
Right.
Or
Right.
just being like, you know what? I feel a certain way about this conversation and I'm going to take a step back and
Mhm.
I choose not
Mhm.
to go
Engage.
Engage.
engage,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Not just
Right.
for my emotions. Also, I am also learning that just because you speak the truth or doesn't mean it needs to be said out loud, right? Just because the words you're saying are
Mhm.
factual, honest, it is the way you
Mhm.
feel.
Mhm.
Sometimes Sometimes you
Mhm.
don't need to
Sometimes
feel it.
people need that filter.
Right.
They
Mhm.
need a filter.
Yep.
Like, you know what? And you know what, Shauna? I wanted, because you were saying this is like the second time, you know, a trigger has been, activated. Is the thing about, and I know we talk about healing and we're going to talk about some things you can do. But one point I want to make is that it doesn't mean when you try to heal from something, it doesn't mean a trigger is not going to happen again.
Right.
Right? That's and so like you said, like, okay, do I really need to say this? Is it gonna change the situation or whatever? So that's why I said, okay, outcome. So it's like that trigger may happen again, but we can control the outcome of that.
Right.
Mhm.
And so yeah, that's a great point
Mhm.
for you to
So
say, like,
with the trigger also, going back to the first situation, right? Feeling as if I didn't speak up on it back then,
Mm.
and now
Mhm.
feeling that when I am triggered or something, and I'll just use white men for example,
Mhm.
feeling that I have to say something. I have to say my piece.
Uh
You know what I'm saying? But
mm,
recognizing and making that choice, thinking of the outcome, this person is willing to listen, right? Not every individual that or situation when you're triggered is going to have that same outcome or whatever. So
Mhm.
the
correct.
choice is gonna be different every time. You just have to the individual, the situation, everything is going to make your choice, different,
Mhm.
the outcome
Mhm.
different.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
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 it's
It's a
work.
process. It's an
yep,
It's
ongoing
work.
process.
yep,
And to your point, Mika, like you said, healing doesn't mean you'll never get triggered again, right? And healing doesn't also means like your triggers. Well, healing means your triggers no longer going to control the outcomes. What we're saying. So once you get to that point where
Right.
it's not going to
Yeah.
control your outcome of it, right? And awareness is
Right.
the bridge between the reaction and
Mhm.
the growth, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
to move this along further, what actually helps? Like we were saying, you said to withdraw yourself from the conversation. Like you were saying, like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm getting triggered. I don't want, you don't have to say
Mhm.
that, but you could be like, you know what? I don't want
Right.
to continue this conversation. Um,
Yeah.
so let's, end the conversation now. Having a boundaries. We
Yeah.
talked about
Boundaries
boundaries
is big for
before.
me.
yeah,
Yes. Healthy conversations and boundaries are probably my top my top 2 ways that help. Yeah.
We already said therapy, so we're not gonna keep beating that into the ground. But
I
you said
know.
healthy
We're
conversations,
some therapy seeking women right
right.
now, okay? Therapy
Oh,
is your
man.
friend if you allow it.
Yeah, and let me say this, you gotta go in there, and you gotta be able to talk about these things, though, too. You can't just
Right.
go in there and just not try to be surface like that.
Y'all just
You
staring
gotta
at
do
each
the work.
other.
You gotta do the work. That's the deep work, right? Like we're
yeah,
Yeah.
saying. Um, but, we already shared enough personal examples about
Yeah.
our triggers, right? Um But like we were saying, you can't heal what you're not willing to acknowledge, right? And
Right.
sometimes awareness hurts before it helps, right? So like you were saying, just knowing that there was a pattern of pain
Right.
in your relationships and now healing that pattern, like you said, you're in a better relationship, you're in a better place
Mhm.
now. But that's part of it, part of the healing process as well, right? As you got to acknowledge the pain to be able to
Right.
be like, okay, that hurt, not
Yeah.
minimize it, don't put it in a box, don't act like it didn't happen, because people do that too, and it's going to show up somewhere else. Right. um
Ooh.
you think you're just putting it somewhere, but it's going to show up somewhere else. Go ahead.
Mhm. No, I was gonna say really quick, one thing that I'm working on currently is the shutting down.
mm,
Mhm.
I feel like that's very important because that is not a good thing. And again, I'm currently working on that. Now when I feel like there's something happening and I'm getting triggered and I'm thinking there's more times than not that I just shut down. And while that can be okay for you to have a moment to regulate yourself, long periods of shutting down is not effective. It's not healthy. It's not serving you or the situation. So I just wanted to, sorry, I know
No,
we kind
you're
of
good.
moved on from that, but
Oh, you're good.
it just went in my head. I'm like, cuz a lot of people have different levels of shutdown, right?
and shut
And so
their
like I
Yes.
said,
lead to
Facts.
avoidance where you just totally
Yes.
yes.
Act like
And
it didn't happen.
Yes.
yep.
Correct. Okay, that's all I just sorry, it popped in my head and I just
No,
wanted to say that.
no, that's good. Somebody needed to hear that,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Continue.
Um, let's see. So we already talked about, you can't heal what you're not willing to acknowledge,
Mhm.
Um, healing starts when honesty becomes safer than avoidance, like we were talking about, right?
Right.
Um, and you know, a reflection point that we want to share with you guys, listeners, what keeps showing up in your life that you keep blaming on other people? And what if
Oh,
it's
that's a
trying to
good
teach
one.
you something?
That's a good one.
And yeah, you wrote that. That's why it's good. I'm sorry, y'all. She actually did write that, so that's why it's good.
You gotta tell them that.
I know, but you did. But you did. I'm giving you your credit, girl. Give you your flowers.
In your
Um,
flower.
give you your flowers because you did write that. But yeah, I mean, so that's a reflection point. And, I mean, I was reflecting on that too, like, oh gosh, that's good. And of course,
It's easy to blame other people.
that part.
It's
Mm.
That
easy to
part.
point a finger and they, them, you, and that could be true, but
Mhm.
sometimes it's us.
It's I.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh,
That part.
yeah.
So we're gonna move on to the challenge segment part. So Shauna, you have the mental
Challenge, challenge,
challenges.
Yes.
challenge,
So this
challenge.
week we want you to track your triggers. This week, write down what happened, what did I feel, what story did I immediately tell myself, and
Mm,
what might the deeper issue be. So when you go to what did I feel, if you have the opportunity, before you write it down, close your eyes and do a body scan and
Yeah.
really feel. Take the time to see where you feel it. Do you feel it in your heart? Do you feel it in your throat, whereas your throat chakra, and it's because you didn't say what you really wanted to say. Is that tight? Just really take a even 30 seconds to just head to toe, scan your body to find out where you feel it. Because sometimes the emotional affects the physical. And
True.
that is actually a
Absolutely.
sign, could be a sign also of where you're holding trauma and things. So that's the
That's
first
real.
one for the mental challenge that I just turned into slightly physical. But anyway, it's the help.
It's okay.
Um, the second one is the emotional pattern recognition. Complete the sentence. I tend to get triggered when look for patterns, don't blame, just look for the patterns in whatever you filled in the blank. All right,
Yeah.
Tamika, what's your
Okay.
physical challenges?
All right. Physical challenges for this episode. The first one is very simple. It's the pause practice. So the next time you feel emotionally activated, literally pause. Take 3 slow breaths before responding. And it's harder than you think, but until you get used to it. I'll say it may be difficult or challenging in the beginning, but it'll get better. So just really just before you respond, pause, take 3 deep breaths. That's the first one. The second one is the body awareness check, and this goes into what Shauna was just sharing. Notice where stress shows up, right? Does it show up in your shoulders, your jaw, your stomach, your chest, your neck? I'll tell you, for me, it shows up in my shoulders. And unfortunately, I'm one of the people that has a little hump on the back. It's not big, but it's there. But when I'm tense, I'm stressed, triggered, that it feels like needles are like poking
mm,
in that
Mm,
one space right on the top of in between my shoulders on my neck. And
mm,
so I would encourage people to practice releasing that tension,
mm,
to Shauna's point. So for me, I have a neck massager. So when I'm feeling like that, I'll go and get it and I'll massage my neck. I also have some cream that's, I don't know, it reminds me of like icy hot or something, but it'll like cool the muscles like
mm,
right there in my neck. So just a body awareness check to Shauna's point, like where's it showing up for you,
mhm,
right? And then wherever that's showing up, work on releasing that.
mhm.
And that's it.
Good. Okay. So,
That's it.
if this conversation challenged you, or we hope this conversation challenged you, because yeah, there was a lot of good stuff
Yeah.
in here.
Yeah.
We hope it did. Because healing isn't just about feeling better; it's also about becoming more aware. So, join us in the Grow Wiser, Love Louder Facebook group. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And our next episode, we'll be talking about toxic leadership, the silence that
Mm.
protects it, and why unhealthy workplace cultures often survive because nobody feels safe enough to speak up.
Ooh,
So
I'm
that
excited.
sounds like that's going to be a good one, ladies.
I know.
Yes.
But I hope,
All
you
right.
know, you guys have woo, this was a good conversation. I hope it was good for everybody else.
Like
Yeah.
always, I'm gonna go touch some grass when I'm done.
Yes, ma'am.
Go take my shoes off, go stand outside in the grass for a minute, get
I
grounded.
purchased some patio furniture.
Oh,
I built
nice.
that. I started building it on Monday. And
Nice.
yesterday was the first day I got back from the retreat on Monday and hit the ground running, building patio furniture. Then I finished doing that. Then I ordered a breakfast nook. So started building that. And so,
Oh, so okay, Bob the
Yay.
Builder.
man, so I say that I had Monday night, I got a headache and it went until yesterday. And
Mm,
until I forced myself to sit down last
mhm.
night, and I'm trying peppermint oil, I took Celtic salt,
Oh.
coconut water, just things, but other than Motrin, Tylenol, and these I
Yes.
didn't wanna
Yes, I
take
Yes.
that
get that.
stuff.
Yes.
Rubbing it on my temples. All I needed to do was listen to my body and sit down. So, last night, I
That's
Mm.
looked at the
good.
stars. This morning, I had to be
Okay.
at 8. I woke up at 5 to watch the sunrise. And
That's
I love
there
that
was
for
beautiful.
no
you.
alarm, but I sat in my patio furniture and up on the deck and just watched the sunrise, and it was so peaceful, even with 2 dogs, and my daughter's new dog been tearing up my daggone new ottomans on my patio furniture. But anyway, I
Uh,
digress.
but anyway,
But
yes.
listeners, thank you. We are
All right,
already
Yes.
everybody.
to
See
ground.
y'all next time.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.